Cory and also Matt to discuss what was a fantastic day at St James's Park. The first day that we've won there, first game that we've won there, in fact, in nearly 21 years. So, yeah, what a result for Aston Villa Football Club. Before we do get into it, I just want to remind you all we do have an ongoing giveaway for either match tickets or a shirt of your choice. All that you need to do is smash that subscribe button, and we give away that every 500 subs, and we are getting close to the next one. For the people of you that are listening to us, Natter, on TikTok, you probably won't be able to hear the rest of the lads talk because you've just got me coming through the mic at the moment. There is a link in the bio to the episode. Head over to there and join us on YouTube. Right, lads, let's get into it. Who wants to kick it off?
I will, mate. Mate, like you've just said, 21 years without winning at St James's Park, coming off the back of a defeat last week. A disappointing defeat against Everton at Villa Park, where we very rarely lose under Unai. I thought we've got two very tough games coming up. Fibonacci away, Newcastle away. Is the bubble maybe about to burst on our season with the injuries to Kamara, McGinn? And we've put in two very professional performances. I thought today was superb to kind of nullify Newcastle, who are a very good team. I know they've got their own injury problems, but I thought everyone put a shift in. Having Unai back in the middle of the park was huge. Bailey looked like a live wire when he came on. Watkins back amongst the score sheet. Thought it was pretty much a nearly perfect performance, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought we was immense. I was a bit nervous heading into the game, and I think all Villa fans were, especially with the injuries that we had to Kamara and McGinn. Before the Fenerbahce game, I've got to be honest with you, I was absolutely shitting bricks for this game. But I had a massive bit of relief knowing that Amadou Onana was going to be playing. The fact that he come on and got some minutes against Fenerbahce was massive for me. And you know what? I'm going to go straight into it and talk about individual performance. I thought he was absolutely amazing today, and I'm a big believer, and I will stand on it, and I will die on the hill if he can keep fit and he can have a run of games. I genuinely think we have a world-class centre midfielder there in Amadou Onana. I'll literally die on that hill. I don't know what your thoughts on that, Cory. Head over to you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, like you both said, unbelievable game from everyone today with Villa. Onana obviously particularly stand out, his first start since the game against Arsenal back in December. So it's one of them where we needed someone to come in and sort of take charge of the game. We said this, I think the Everton game, once McGinn went off, we almost lost that. We lost sort of that leadership on the pitch, someone just to take charge of the game. But today, Onana was immense. He seemed to just win every ball. Obviously, he's so powerful running on the ball as well. And yeah, standout performance from him. There's a few other players as well I thought played really well. Obviously, Buendia, great goal for him as well today. He's one of them where I think me and you have spoke a few times, Ben, recently about how his performance levels have dropped, but he picked it up today. Nice to see Watkins get his goal as well after not the best performance, but he's got his goal. That's what he's there for at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think a lot of Villa fans were getting quite frustrated with Ollie Watkins in the game. Rightfully so as well. I think he made some really poor decisions in the attack, especially that one chance in the first half towards the end of the half where he should have played quite an easy pass to Jadon Sancho. And look, Jadon Sancho may not have scored from that position, but it was a terrible pass. But he knew it himself. As soon as the camera cut to Ollie Watkins, he knew that he had kind of balls up that pass. Just remind everyone that is in the TikTok chat, you probably can't hear the other lads, but there is a link in the bio to the YouTube channel where we are currently having a discussion on the fantastic result at St James's Park. So obviously we got kicked the game off, and I just for the bit of visibility for those of you that are in the chat, I messaged Matt offline and I said to him, just keep it tight, Villa. Don't do anything stupid. Just get through the first 15 minutes. And we literally did exactly what we've done at quite a lot of games this season. And that was give away an early goal. But thankfully, it was good save by Emi Martinez with his feet. Could even argue potentially a poor finish by Tonali. We've got away with one there. And I thought personally, I don't know what either of you thought. I thought Tielemans and Tielemans and Onana were pretty poor in that little section. They should have dealt with that a little bit better. I thought Tonali got through a little bit too easy. I'm not going to go too in on it. I'm just obviously trying to dissect the game and what I saw at that point. Matt, what's your thoughts on that?
That first 45 seconds, again, I mean, we've picked up the most points from losing positions in the league this year, and that kind of reflects that we do fall asleep quite early on. It happened at Brighton, it happened at West Ham, it nearly happened today, it nearly happened at Everton, or against Everton, I should say, at Villa Park. And that did, after your text as well, Ben, I was like, he's jinxed this. And it looked like it might have been quite a long afternoon. at St James's Park, especially when you've got players like Harvey Barnes and Gordon, who usually do turn up against us, especially Barnes, always scores against us. And if that had gone 1-0 after 30 seconds, then it would have been an uphill mountain to climb. But after that, like first few minutes, Martinez made that save with his feet, and then he made a really good save as well with a strong glove when the ball was behind him, kind of looping. But other than that, I thought we nullified Newcastle pretty well. I know they were out with Bruno G, who is their Kamara to us. They've not won a game without Bruno G since he joined. So that was a huge positive for us. But I thought just everyone, like we touched on, I thought Buendia played really well today. Rogers was solid again. Bailey when he came off the bench. I was really impressed with Quanta, as we all are every week. He's just absolute Rolls Royce. But also having Mings come off the bench as well. A bit more no nonsense with those last 10, 15 minutes when you need to shut up shop. Torres obviously can break lines with his passing, but if you want someone to put their head on a ball in the 90th minute when the corner's getting delivered, it's Tyrone, and him and Lindelof as well. I just thought everyone put in a huge shift and, like I said, really professional.
You know what? You've hit the nail on the head there. As soon as he come on, I was actually really happy to see that substitution being made, because Tyrone Mings has got that leadership as well that you kind of want in a player to get you over the line in a tricky result. You know, we've seen it in the week at Fenerbahce. You know, Tyrone Mings is a warrior, and he's absolutely loved by everyone in the Villa fan base, and rightfully so. And he's the perfect sort of player you want coming up. Because let's be honest, as much as Pau Torres is a good player, he can be a bit susceptible to getting a bit dominated physically. Having Tyrone Mings to come on, especially when they made the substitution to bring on Nick Voltemada, it gave me so much more confidence. You touched on a player there, Matt, and I want to just briefly go over the opposition. I thought Anthony Gordon was absolutely horrendous. I've never seen a player look, Anthony Gordon at one point was a very, very good footballer for Newcastle United. He scored that goal against us, was it last season, when he wrapped it in top bins at the early doors?
Yeah, boxing.
You know, he showed so much quality over different periods, but he was horrendous today. He literally cannot cross the ball to save his life.
Yeah, I think it's a funny one. I'm not a massive fan of Anthony Gordon anyway. I think he's massively overrated, if I'm being honest. But like you say, at times he was sort of playing for us. He couldn't beat his man. He's not a crosser. He can't cross the ball. Obviously, he's now got that record of, what is it, a year or over a year now without scoring a goal from open play in the Premier League. Harvey Barnes playing off the right was so random. I think he's probably been, speak to Newcastle players, he's probably been their best player this season, and they've played him out of position in a game that was massive for both teams, really. From their perspective, I spoke to you actually after the game, Ben. I was really impressed with Lewis Miley. I thought he had a really good game for Newcastle, really good, tidy player. But other than that, like you say, there was no real threat. I mean, Lewis Hall was probably, I don't watch a lot of Lewis Hall, but that's probably one of his worst games he's played for Newcastle, and I think Newcastle fans will agree there. He didn't really get into the game.
That's not what I've seen online. Everyone's still rimming his arse a little bit, to be honest with you, and saying how good he was. I didn't see it myself. I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it was anything to kind of boast about. If you looked at the two, and this is something that we've had built in the build-up to the game, like Newcastle United fans were absolutely all over him in comparison, saying that, you know, he's miles better than Ian Maatsen. And I don't want to sound rude, but after watching that game, Ian Maatsen, I'll tell you what, the level that he's gone up recently for Villa, like that really needs to be spoken about, because he is now our first choice left back.
Absolutely, yeah. The thing is with Ian Maatsen, it's a funny one. When we signed him from Chelsea, I was like, he's a top player. Like he's a player that obviously everyone at Chelsea was talking about. He's going to be one of the best left backs in world football, this sort of thing, at some point in his career. And obviously, when he first joined Villa, we didn't really see it. We saw it in glimpses, but like you say, this last sort of few months, he's completely taken that position on his own now. And obviously, someone like Digne, who's been so reliable for the last few years, we're able to bring him on in situations like today, where it's like, well, we can just bring him on to secure things up and take silly yellow cards like he did today.
I don't know about you both, but I had a bit more confidence going into the game, especially when we seen that our bench was a little bit more stacked. Having Harvey Elliott on there, I know he didn't come on, but it was still an option. Having Leon Bailey on there, it meant that we actually had senior pros on the bench. You know, there's been games like the Everton game, for example, where we had multiple, you know, under 21s. And look, I'm not against giving, you know, the academy boys minutes, because ultimately George Hemmings, Jimo Aloba, they need these minutes, or they're never going to develop. They're never going to get to the level. What that looks like, you know, we don't know what that looks like, but it was just reassuring to me to see that we had had that in there. I would love it if the Villa could somehow negotiate with Liverpool to remove that clause, because it makes no sense for me, and we've gone over it multiple episodes on Harvey Elliott as to why you would have that clause in the contract, because ultimately if Villa aren't going to pay it, he's just going to rot on our bench, rot in our reserves. Is he going to go back to Liverpool and play? Probably not. So just cancel the agreement, or let us pay a small fee to cancel the agreement and let the boy play and get him in the shop window. Surely that makes the most sense for Liverpool Football Club, because we could just dig our heels in, pay the wage, and be like, all right, we'll just pay your wages, 35 grand a week or whatever it is, and then move, and then that's it for us. But the player, he will completely depreciate. Is that the word I'm looking for? His value will drop. So it makes no sense for Liverpool. But that's the only bit I want to say on Harvey Elliott. I thought Yuri Tielemans was a bit ropey at the start, but I thought he grew into the game. I thought he actually had a decent game. I know you had your opinion on him, Cory, was he didn't start very well. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I thought the same. Like I said, I think he just seemed a bit sloppy on the ball, a bit passive. Obviously, I haven't seen. I only just saw the Sandro Tonali chance, but I've not seen the build up before that into it. I've only seen obviously him go past. I think it was Pau Torres and Konza and have the shot. So I've not seen that bit. But I'd like to say I think he started very slow, and I think he was a bit too passive on the ball. He was giving the ball away, sort of a bit weak. But then, like you say, he grew into it, and he almost took over that sort of Kamara role of just in between the line of defence and midfield, just sweeping up where he can and doing that job there. And hopefully the injury he picked up's not too major either.
Yeah, they said it's a potential an ankle, but look, when he come off and he spoke to Unai Emery, he didn't look really in much of discomfort. So hopefully he'll be all right. Personally, I probably wouldn't play him against Salzburg if he's got even the remote tiniest bit of injury. We do need to beat Salzburg, because ultimately we do need to finish in the top two, because it will massively benefit us. But Yuri Tielemans being fit for the Brentford game is more important for me, if I'm going to be honest with you, because the Premier League, look, Arsenal dropping points, which we will touch on at some point, I'm pretty sure. The door's been somewhat left ajar for us to kind of creep our way back in. 4 points is nothing, isn't it, at the end of the day? But let's just stay on the game for now. Yeah, so Ollie Watkins got his goal at the end of the game. I don't know if either of you have really looked back at that, but bloody hell, the amount of space in the box, I'd be absolutely seething if I was a Newcastle fan watching that back.
I think the last few minutes when the game was opening up a little bit, when Newcastle were pushing and knocking on our door a little bit, well, they weren't actually creating that many attacks, but they were having a lot of the ball around the edge of our box, and then obviously Watkins got his goal. You touched on it towards the start of the pod, Ben. I thought Watkins on another day could have had probably 2 assists and 2 goals himself. Could have laid Sancho off. There were some poor touches. I can't remember who played a long ball over the top, and he was one-on-one, and if he'd got a decent touch away, he would have been through, and it bounced off him and it went to Pope. But hoping, there's rumours, very strong rumours that Tammy will be announced this week. So there'll be some backup to support him. Obviously, Watkins is quite a hot, cold player. He has scored 6 goals in his last 5 away days. So, he's definitely getting better again, but not to the levels that we saw 2 or 3 years ago when he banged in 19 league goals and 13 assists. So if we can have a bit more support and a bit more firepower, that would be ideal. So it wasn't his best game. It certainly wasn't his worst either. I'm glad he got his goal, a bit more confidence, and hopefully he can pick up a few more, maybe against Salzburg midweek, and just get that kind of 15, 16 goals we expect him to get in the Prem. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he was particularly amazing, but like I say, one thing you're going to get with Ollie Watkins, regardless if he has a bad game or he has a fantastic game, you're always going to get the same level of consistency in terms of his work rate. He will always give 100% to the team and bust his absolute bollocks off for the Villa, which no one can discredit him for. And with that, naturally, I think he's dropped in his levels of performance. We've only really seen the Chelsea game this season where he's absolutely played a blinder, and I do question whether it is because he only played 45 minutes and he come off the bench. Was it 45? Did he come off at half? Come on. Anyway, he come on around just after half time. I think he come on. But anyway, I don't know if he's got that level of performance in him for a full 90 because of his knee. That does look like it's like causing him some problems. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. Buendia, we need to have a chat about Emi Buendia because I think some sections of the Villa fan base are getting a little bit frustrated with some of his performances, and then he comes up and pops up with another blinder like that. I know my friend in this chat here, Corey, is definitely on the bandwagon of Mr. Buendia. Corey, give us your verdict of his goal. What did you think of that lovely finish by Buendia?
It's a great goal. It's a typical Emi Buendia. Like I say, he's such a frustrating player to watch because you know the quality's there in those moments, like he produced today with the goal, and we've seen it obviously the free kicks that he scored earlier in the season and away at Feyenoord as well. It's just obviously today I think it was one of his better performances in terms of he was linking up play nicely. He was fighting for every ball, and that is one thing you will get from him. He's got that South American sort of in him, hasn't he, where he's the little dog and will chase everything and put tackles in. I mean, obviously, when he was at Norwich, he had quite a bad disciplinary record, which thankfully he's not brought to Villa. But I think, like I say, he's one of them where when he's at his best, you can see why he's here and why he's playing for Villa, and the moments he's producing are magnificent. And obviously, we actually spoke about it. I'm not sure if we spoke about it on the podcast last time or just offline, about the little link up in like the triangle passes that we played against Fenerbahce. It was really nice football, and that's obviously where that goal's come from today with him, Tielemans and Rodgers. Nice little link up, and then obviously the strike's a beauty.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Buendia. I know he's frustrating, but you kind of get that. I think some people do forget sometimes. We did spend an awful amount of money on Buendia. Was it £37.5 million, I believe it was? Correct me if I'm wrong. So, you should be expecting that level of a player, to be honest with you. You should be expecting a decent level Premier League player. I think, he dropped off massively, let's be honest, he did. And we all thought he wasn't going to, continue his Villa career because it looked like it was coming to a close, especially with the Leverkusen, loan that never got, the obligation was never activated. And pretty much most Villa fans wrote him off. But he's grafted his arse off, stuck around, and Unai Emery's kept him. And thank God he kept him as well, because we could have been paying, say, that Harvey Elliott fee for a player that we don't, it might not have worked for Harvey Elliott at Aston Villa. At least with, Buendia, he's one of our own. He knows the club like, and he wants to graft for the team. He wants to, and let's not forget that Emi Buendia, before that injury, before that ACL, I remember in that pre-season, I'm sure it was against Newcastle, actually. He was ridiculous, or it was one of the games in that pre-season in America, and he was so good, and he looked really sharp in pre-season, and then he got that ACL, and it was just like, for fuck's sake. And obviously since then, he struggled to get back up to the level of a form that he was producing back then. But no one could deny that he's definitely gone up. He's definitely played his part this season. Emi Buendia has, and fair play to him. That's what I say. He's an absolute credit to himself. Emi Buendia is another player I want to talk about, the Polish Cafu, because I thought he was very, very good again today, and he's going about his business so quietly. But for me, he's definitely up there as arguably one of the best right backs in the Premier League at the moment. The only two that I would potentially put above him, and I'm going to stand on it, and I'll die on the sword. The only two right backs in the Premier League currently that I'd say would be better than Matty Cash is probably Yuri and Timber, and I would probably say Reece James as well. But after that, I think it's fair game.
I'd agree with you there, Ben. I think they are the two that are better than Matty Cash, and Matty's had his fair share of hate from the Villa fan base over the last few years. I've always been a big Matty Cash fan. I can't lie, but I know some people on this pod haven't been. But this year, he has been absolutely exceptional, both defensively and going forward as well. His output, some of the balls he's put into the box, obviously he's scored quite a few long-range goals as well. But he's just been so much more consistent, where he was probably, I'd say last summer, maybe the first name on the team sheet that we would look to replace if we had money to spend. We were linked with we were linked with Dumfries for Inter Milan. Mm-hmm. And I'd have snapped your hand off if we could have got Dumfries in for Matty Cash. But this year he's been, probably along with Kamara, one of our best players. And we just know what we're going to get from him. The same we've just touched on Matson's performance getting better, Buendia's performance getting better. I think Emery just gets absolutely... Emery takes every player to the next level that they can be. And that's the reason we're in a position that we are on a shoestring budget, is because he's getting the absolute best out of a good group of players, but I don't think we have any right on currently like where we are and how consistent we've been, because we haven't spent any money for the last few years. And some of this team were in a relegation scrap. Some of them came up from the Championship with us, and we're now pushing Champions League every year. We're favourites for the Europa League. We are potentially, whether you like it or not, in a title race at the moment. And I think Matty Cash has been one of the key players for our success over the last year.
Yeah, you are right, mate. To be, I think we take some of us take Unai Emery for granted sometimes. That how good of a manager he actually is. You know, he has literally elevated that squad to a completely different level. You know, you look at the players that were coming off the bench, like Tyrone Mings. You know, he was with us in the Championship. Do you know who I'm really excited to see what he can do with him? Tammy Abraham, because I think Abraham's a goal scorer. He'll get you goals, and what Unai can do with him when he gets his hands on him. And do you know what I'll say on that matter is when Unai has specifically wanted to go for certain players and get them, and when he's got them, they've pretty much worked out. You look at Onana, you look at Morgan Rogers, and there is a couple more that Unai Emery has hand selected. Look, as much as people don't, are a bit iffy around him, Pau Torres has worked. I know he's a bit weak sometimes, but Pau Torres has worked. It's been a decent signing. So Unai Emery has hand selected Tammy Abraham as that striker to be the next striker at Aston Villa. I think it'll work, and I think he's going to score an absolute shit ton for us. But well, I hope so anyway.
I think just going back to if Emery, I'm at the point now, and I think most Villa fans are. If Emery wants something, I just put all my trust in Emery. You know, even like we just said, Tammy maybe wasn't my number one striker choice if I was going to pick, but if Unai wants him, I'm sure he'll get the best out of him and he'll turn him into goals. Even going little things like Marco Bizot as our second goalkeeper. I'd never watched Marco Bizot play. He's been unbelievable for us this year when he has played. If Emery wants a player, I will put all my trust in Emery to get the best out of that player. And if Tammy is the best fit for our system, well, then let him have him, because he will get the best out of him. And I just want to give a shout out to Lindelof as well. He was a free from Man United. Clearly wasn't good enough for Man U. He's been absolutely phenomenal when he's played for us again this year. And so going back to what you just said, Ben, if Emery wanted Onana, he wanted Lindelof, he wanted Bizot, he wants Tammy, then I have no doubt that Tammy will be a success at Villa Park.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, because he had that call, didn't he, with Juan Mata, is my understanding, just to try and test it. Get your words out, Ben. Bloody hell! Just check his character, basically. And what an absolute signing, a brilliant signing he's been, Victor Lindelof. I don't think the amount of people that was slating and hammering that signing as well in pre-season, like when it was going through. And I remember speaking to you actually about Cory and saying, what, I actually think, and you agreed with me that it was going to be quite a clever signing, considering obviously his age, his experience. He's been at Manchester United. He's won quite a lot of things at Manchester United, and people were just slamming it and writing it off. And to be fair to Victor Lindelof, he hasn't put a foot wrong. I know some people try and associate the blame to the Nottingham Forest goal to him, but we won that game. End of. Put that to the back of your mind. Any other game, every game that we've played in with Victor Lindelof at centre half, we've done very, very well. I just think ultimately now I want to just kind of like touch on everything is going kind of where we need it to at Aston Villa Football Club. But about a week or so ago, before these two fixtures, there was a bit of gloom and doom at the football club, and a lot of the fan base, including myself, and I know you guys were, from conversations we've had offline and in our WhatsApp group, that we were a bit down and in the dumps about the the injuries that we had to McGinn, who's now been confirmed to be out for 6 weeks, and then obviously the Kamara one for the full season. We was all in a position where we were a bit deflated, a bit flat, and then bang. We go away to Fenerbahce in Turkey, one of the hardest grounds in Europe to go to. Istanbul, it's real tricky away tie. Go there, win 1-0, clean sheet, which is massive. And then we go to St. James's Park, a place that we haven't won in nearly 21 years, beat them 2-0, clean sheet. Like, Unai, just do your thing, man. I'm going to just stop doubting. I think the big thing for me was when we seen that Onana was back. That was massive. Him and Tielemans now just need to stay fit for the remainder of the season. I would assume that there will be some work throughout the remainder of January, that we will look at getting another centre mid, especially if Tielemans has potentially picked up a knock to his ankle. Let's hope that's not too bad, but we'll definitely go and get another centre mid in. I know Ross Barkley is not far off. I don't know if you're both aware of that. That was revealed the other day, so he should be back potentially next week with the team, which again is another bonus. but just positive things for Aston Villa at the moment. Is there any more bits that you want to talk about, lads? Is there anything we've missed?
I want to talk about just one player in particular, and that's Emi Martinez. Because again, I spoke about obviously the frustration of watching Emi Buendia play and stuff like that, and then it's the exact same with this man this season. I think every time we start to doubt him, he comes up with performances like he did today, and he shows us why he is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And it's just a frustrating sort of situation with him this season, where it's like, obviously there's so many times this season where he's made mistakes that have led to goals, or he's just not doing what he should be doing, and then he has performances like today where, I mean, the Lewis Miley save is a ridiculous save, and obviously even the save from Tonali, he's meant to do it. He's meant to put his foot out to stop the ball going. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to get your lads' thoughts on it, because I know he's a very hot and cold topic at the moment, isn't he?
He's a divisive topic, isn't he? I think that he definitely splits a lot of the fan base, but no one can question Emi Martinez on his day as a world-class goalkeeper. The problem, obviously, we have with Emi Martinez is what comes with him sometimes. And obviously, there's a lot of people that kind of question his character, question the all injuries, the pulling out before games, etc., etc. But by no hooks or crooks, if he's on the pitch and he's focused and he's in the game, he's a fantastic goalkeeper. That would be my assessment. Matt, what about you? Where's your thoughts? Where's your head at?
I think this year we've been maybe a little bit more frustrated with him with the lack of, or the amount of games he's pulled out of last minute. Obviously didn't travel with the squad to Turkey. Whereas Brighton away, he was warming up and then didn't fancy it. There was a couple others around that period where he was in the starting lineup and then didn't play. There was another game in Europe, I think, but then he pulls out performances like he did today, where he shows why he's won 2 Yashin Awards back-to-back, why he won the Golden Glove at the World Cup. He is one of the best keepers in the world on his day, and whether he's off in summer or not, I think we have had the best years out of him, or he's certainly starting to decline slightly, but then he pops up with performances like today, which have kept us in the game early on, which we've obviously gone on to win. If we could get a few more years out of him, then obviously that'd be ideal, because we know what we've got. But if his head has been turned and maybe he's off to Saudi, or Inter Milan's been rumoured this week, then so be it. He's been an unbelievable servant for us over the last 4 or 5 years, and he's got us from relegation battle to pushing Champions League. And potentially, the one thing I do want to touch on very quickly, Ben, is with the results today at the Emirates, we're level with City, we're 4 points behind Arsenal. I thought maybe the dream of including Villa in title conversations might have been done after our loss at Everton, but we were quite lucky that week that the results kind of stayed neutral. Man City lost, Liverpool lost, Arsenal drew with Forest, and they've lost to the end today. And all of a sudden, that gap looks, 4 points is not a lot of points in football when you're in January. There's a lot of football to be played. Could we still dream that Unai does the unthinkable?
Well, we just need to go on a run of games, don't we? And the thing is, which is in our favour, is if you look at our fixtures in February, they are very, very much favourable to Aston Villa to go and get some results. Obviously, we've got Brentford up at home next, and you've got an away trip, I think it is, to Bournemouth, and then after that you've got Brighton at home, just off the top of my head. We've got Wolves away.
Leeds at Villa Park as well.
Leeds at Villa Park. So if we can go... Look, realistically, what's to stop us going and beating all of those teams? Like, honestly, like I'm not trying to, shit house and say that we're better than all. But we're a better team than a lot of those teams. We just have to do it on the grass and make sure we actually get the results. And if we go and get, like, say, I don't know, 5 wins out of 5 and gives us 15 points, because I've worked out that we need roughly about 7 more wins to secure your Champions League football next season, which isn't a lot. And I think this month is where we need to get a lot of those wins under our belt, because I reckon 60 odd points is going to be there or thereabouts now to get Champions League next season. Because the amount of points that the teams are dropping, the only one that slightly concerns me a little bit is this uplifting form from Manchester United, because they could join the party now. Obviously, we've still got to go to Old Trafford. Liverpool, are they going to be consistent enough? Because who knows? They're a bit ropey, aren't they? I expected Liverpool to kick on in the second half of the season, and they've been pony, ain't they? And then that result of a night against Bournemouth, Christ alive, that was shite, weren't it? I just want to flash this up on the screen, lads. We've just had a comment from Declan Martin, and he said Tielemans walked out the stadium on crutches, which Yeah, that don't fill me with much confidence if that has happened. We obviously can't corroborate that. I've got no information myself at this point, whether that is true or not. Declan, if you have got any more evidence to that, drop me a message on TikTok, mate, and I'll investigate it and do some content on it for the Villa faithful. But if that's the case, and it is a bit more of a serious injury, which I didn't think so at the time. It looked like it just nicked him, like a bit of an impact injury. So, but again, I thought the same with Kamara when he come off the pitch. I thought that was only an impact injury, and look out for the rest of the season, needed surgery. But yeah, back to the title race, Matt. Why can't we dream?
Well, I think we are in it, whether people like it or not. It's nearly the end of January. We're level with Man City. We're joint second, or with same points as City, and we're 4 points off Arsenal. That if it was any other team, and just because Villa are maybe not as big a threat as other teams have been in the past, but if this was Liverpool on 4 points with Arsenal, all of the media would be saying it's a three-horse race at the moment between Arsenal, City, Liverpool. And the fact is that we're just there. I think we can certainly challenge. We've pushed Arsenal and City for the last 4 or 5 months. We've beaten them both. Why can't we go and carry this on until the end of the year and maybe push Arsenal to the last day?
Arsenal have got a real tricky away game coming up next.
Leeds away, I think, isn't it?
Leeds away, yeah. Corey's from Leeds. What do you reckon?
Listen, I was speaking to my mate about it earlier. My mate's an Arsenal fan. And I was speaking to him. I said, Ellen Road's not an easy place to go. Everyone knows that it's a horrible place to go, and that's why it's so impressive that we got the win that we did. The only thing that Arsenal do have in their favour is obviously they're probably the only team this season that have comprehensively beaten Leeds. They beat them 5-0 at the Emirates, I think it was. And so they've got that on their backs. But from our perspective, it is that thing of we're behind at the moment, which works in our favour. All we have to do is just keep winning games. I know it's easier said than done, but put the pressure on, keep doing it that way. It's not like we're the ones who are top of the league and having to feel that sort of pressure. I said to you lads offline a few weeks ago, I said, for Villa now, the focus should be on winning the league. If you're going with that mentality of trying to win the league, we'll guarantee top four. If we're going with the mentality of, right, we want to try and get top four, that's when you start to slip into the Europa League spaces and stuff like that because you're focusing on that. If we're going with that mentality of we can win the league, which we can, and we are in a position to do so, that's where we'll get the best out of it. Like I say, Arsenal, they've got a tough game up against Leeds. They've got to play City as well again. So at some point, them two, either one of them or both of them could drop points. And that's a weekend where we can hopefully take advantage.
Yeah, no, I'm fully in agreement with you, mate. I think ultimately, as Aston Villa fans, we need to just stay focused on Aston Villa. We keep doing our own thing and just see where this journey takes us. Because for me, top four was beyond. That was beyond. I'm pretty sure same as all of you guys and the rest of Villa fans. The top four was beyond our wildest dreams at one point. We thought that was going to slip up there, especially after the start that we made, and then the fact that we are now like in a position where we are, 10 points ahead of a lot of our people around us. Was it 13 points ahead of Newcastle United, which is it's fantastic for us. In this position, potential. Like I say, seven more wins should guarantee us Champions League football again next season. What we need, like, if we can just take it game by game now and just see where it takes us. If we was to just go on another run of winning games like we did earlier on in the season, which we can do because Unai Emery is more than capable of stringing together these results in a row. We've done it multiple times. If we was to do that and put ourselves into a serious question for the title, why not? Why not?
Mate, can I just touch on what Cory said there as well? Is Arsenal have been notorious for blowing leads in the last 3 seasons, and if the last 3 games in the league are anything to go off, they drew 2 blanks against Forest and Liverpool. The one thing they've been very, very good at is keeping clean sheets, and today they've conceded 3 at home. Is this the start of them beginning to crack potentially? City just haven't had the consistency that we've seen under Pep in the last few years. I don't think they'll go on one of these runs that they famously do around this time where they go and win like 18 in a row. Haaland has 1 goal since Christmas. They're starting to suffer as well. And other than a loss against Everton at Villa Park, we haven't really, and obviously we lost to Arsenal, but we haven't really stuttered that much. And we've picked up again where we did look like we might have been falling off with the draw at Palace and the loss against Everton with 2 big wins this week. You've just reeled off a very winnable February there, Ben. We could, end of Feb, be top. And I don't think that's too much of a stretch.
There's one last bit I want to touch on, lads, before I do we do wrap this up. The Emi Martinez situation with Ezri Konsa. What do you make of that? I don't know if you've seen it, Matt, where Konsa basically pulls a face to Emi Martinez going down. No. So
when he was holding his back with the
Yeah.
No, I did see that. Yeah, I didn't really know what to make of that. I didn't know if he thought just get on with it or I don't know. I only saw it once on Sky and not since. So I'll leave that one.
I've watched it back since, weirdly enough. And to be fair, I think it was more annoyance from Konsa because I don't know who it was, but I think it must have been Rodgers probably. I think one of the Villa players had absolutely legged it down the pitch, and I think he was just thinking, because you can see Konsa pointing, he's pointing saying, go to obviously that player. And I think it was just a frustration thing of he's like, we need to get that second goal. Like, why are you going down, that sort of thing, when there's an opportunity to play it? I think we spoke about it offline, didn't we, Ben? In terms of that, you don't mind it from Martinez. It's gamesmanship. It was Newcastle was starting to sort of find their feet a little bit. They didn't really have a massive spell, but they probably had a 5-minute spell or so in that moment where they were sort of putting a bit of pressure on, getting a couple corners, things like that. So it's a bit of gamesmanship, which I'm not a massive fan of it, but if it wins your games, it wins your games.
Look, if he does that in the Europa League final when we're 1-0 up and we need to shit out someone, I'll more than take it. And if it secures Aston Villa a trophy, he can carry on. Right, lads, on that note, I think we've had a good chat. It's been a fantastic week for Aston Villa Football Club. On to Salzburg on Thursday night, followed off with a home tie against Brentford, and hopefully we'll be back here probably next week after 2 more wins, and Aston Villa will be back on the road to breaking our record of wins on a row. Why not? So on that note, final one from us, as always, up the Villa.
Villa.
We're fucking massive.